So before we get going here, tonight what we're really going to focus on is California blue water hunting and reef hunting. Honestly, like Richie's like one of the best there's ever been on the west coast of California. Back when there was a lot of the tournaments going on, Richie used to just him and a handful of other people used to just smoke everybody. And him and I and a small group of friends, we've been buddies for a while and always, talked about all these different adventures like around the world, and Central America was kind of their bread and butter, and really like shoot like big tunas and stuff. So it's been interesting to figure out different techniques and different places and the timing and the moons and all that stuff over the years. And talking with Richie will be really interesting tonight to see how, all that preparation, hunting big yellowfins and stuff and how to rig and everything paid off when the bluefins finally did show up in California. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that it was back in like Zane Gray's time, which is early 1900s, that the last time they were really seen in those great of numbers. And, up until I think it's been 5 years ago now, there was very few even sightings of bluefin. Like they rarely made it up that far. Usually they were down in Mexico at the furthest north, and they got caught down there. So they never made it up our way, or they went way offshore. And the sport fishing guys, when they did start seeing them off California, like didn't even really bother with them. They're like, they're just swimming. You can't really catch them. Just let them rip. And it wasn't a whole ton of them. Like every once in a while, someone would catch like a little one, and it was a big deal. I can remember, 10, 15 years ago, guys catching some, and they were like blown away, to be able to catch any bluefin there. Paul and Scotty going to do this with you. Who's Paul and Scotty? We're going to get a lot of people on. Today I talked to a couple people. I've got a bunch of friends that hunt too, so we're going to get some hunters on here because I like the mesh of, the hunting and fishermen. If you guys watch that show, Meat Eater, Remy Warren is one of the guides, and a really, really good dude, really knowledgeable. He's got a great podcast. He's going to come on here next week as well. So it'll be pretty cool to have him. And we got a couple people in line. Luke Malis, amazing guy from down Long Island, the Bahamas. He's going to talk with us next week. One of definitely the fish of our lifetime, since we've been alive, obviously, is that gigantic Cubera snapper that he shot with a pole spear down in the Bahamas, which absolutely blew everybody's minds. So it'll be really cool to talk to him next week. Bloomer, Romanowski, never heard of those guys. I don't know who they are. We're gonna stick with we're gonna stick with Richie for now. No, I know those guys are good guys and all very knowledgeable. We're gonna try to mix it up and talk to a lot of different people. So if you guys have any specific questions, ask. This is the cool thing about doing it on Instagram is it's interactive, and we can see your guys' questions. And let me see if I can share. I'm getting better at this too. There's Wallers and Ryan with two big bluefins off of Richie's boat. There's a couple other big boys. So Richie's got it sorted. He's got a pretty good idea what's going on out there. Again, that network of people is pretty radical, that's out there in California. And I mean, obviously you guys see these great pictures of big fish, but the effort that goes into like all the planning and stuff for this is unbelievable. And you see this one picture, but it might have been 10 or 20 days on the water to get that one big one. I mean, we'd love to think that every time we go out, we get these huge fish, and it's not like we're just kind of winging it when we go out. There's a lot of prep, a lot of planning, a lot of trying to figure out where the fish are, and communicating with everybody like to make sure that there's good chances. Yes, that is one of the most helpful things right there, buddy. But yeah, Richie's gotten a couple studs over the years, and probably more big fish have been speared on his boat than most of the other boats combined here in the last couple of years. But yeah, it was interesting that first year the tuna showed up really well. Nobody was kitted up out there. Like, there was a handful of people in California that had big blue water guns that had been going down to, Mexico and stuff, but not many people were rigged right. So, I mean, people were out there shooting them with, like 48-inch guns and single banded guns and losing a ton of them. And like, it's taken a couple years for everyone to get geared up right and get the bungees and the buoys and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to hear that evolution. Richie and Brandon and Ryan and all those guys, I mean, they were ready to roll because, they go down to Central America a lot and they're targeting tunas that are bigger than these bluefins, actually, the yellowfins. And I'm curious to hear what he says too. Like, in my limited experience with bluefins, I don't find that they fight nearly as hard as the yellowfins. And yeah, I'm curious to see what he says about that. But let's see if we can get anybody to come on here. Let's see, Balta. I'm gonna try to get you in now just to make sure it works. And I think you just have to accept our friendship. Hello. There we go. Come on.
How's that work?
Good, buddy. How are you, bro?
You hear me good?
I can hear you.
How you guys holding up over there, man?
Good. Yeah, nobody's
Awesome.
died. Nobody's died. Nobody's been killed. A couple death threats.
Yeah, right?
It's been all right.
Right on, dude.
No, it's been good. We're lucky. We can go fish for wahoo and sailfish and stuff right out front, and then go hunt in the afternoons. Everything's pretty close.
Same here. Same here. For the most part, fishing is still fairly open, so pretty good. No complaints.
You got to feel for the places that are like closed right now. They're talking about reopening some areas, but like even down, we were supposed to be in Cayman Brac, where my dad's family's from, this like spring break or whatever. And even down there, like, you're not even supposed to be shore diving. And there's been one case on the island. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's not much shore diving here either. It's pretty much closed. It's like if you're lucky enough to have a boat to get out and, somebody on a slip or something, most ramps are closed there. And there's a few private ones that's still open. Mm-hmm. But, people find a way.
Right.
We need to get out there one way or another, right?
Yeah, man. Are you drinking? Or is it too early over there?
I was drinking. Martini, baby.
Nice. Well, I've done a little bit of introduction here for you, and I mean, I told people we weren't going to start till 9:30, but I'd rather talk to you than hear myself speak.
Right on, for sure.
But you're same age as me, aren't you? Aren't you 40 something?
Jeez, I starting to forget, bro.
That's close enough, so we're good. But
I'm like 43, maybe 42.
Yeah, we forget. But I mean, we've been buddies for a while now. Met through
for sure.
Just through the spearfishing community. 20 years ago was so small.
It was, man. It was a different world, total different world. Like, I mean, the sport has come such a long, different way. Mm-hmm. And it's good and bad in both ways. But you just gotta take it for what it is, Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. There's just so many more people out now. I mean, it's like 10 times more than when we started. When we started, like, you have to go like step by step and work your way up the ladder. And like, just to get new information was really hard. So now it's like, yeah, go ahead.
So that's one of the things I was going to talk about is, back when you guys kind of got going, the way to meet people spearfishing was tournaments and clubs.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, well, just to get to find out about a club, you were lucky enough to maybe just run into somebody on the beach or something, So it's like, you can't go on the internet and find a club. So even just to find that there's a club was hard enough. That's the whole difference. That's why it's so different now. I mean, the way I found out my club, I was shore diving out of TV, and then this gentleman by the name of Bob Seller, really super guy, and then he told me about the club, and that's how I kind of knew about it. I'm like, well, no wait, is there a club for this thing? Like, that's how much the sport has changed. Like, even finding a club was a whole different program.
It's interesting because I never had any experience with the club stuff. I never knew any of that existed until, I think I was out of college, or probably in college. Like, I'd never even heard of that stuff.
Right.
So it's that culture on the West Coast. And I remember, I want to say that, I met Brandon and maybe Terry even first from your guys' coast, Terry Moss, And
Okay.
the first couple times I came over there, like, we'd go dive and we'd, dive all the shore stuff or whatever. And I'd go with you guys. I went a couple times with you guys for tournaments.
What year was that?
Oh God, I don't know. Early 2000s, probably like '03, when you guys were like
Okay.
really into the tournament stuff, like you and
Right,
Brandon
right,
and
right.
Ryan
We
and
were
everybody.
definitely. That's how we all started, pretty much.
But it was neat to see like how into it you guys were, and we never even like considered like doing that stuff. But California, it
Yeah.
created such a good culture because it meshed so many different types of diving, and you guys had tournaments planned up and down the coast, so you had to be good at a bunch of different stuff. And
For sure. Well, that was the whole idea is the diversity. You in competition you get to go whether it's clear, dirty, whatever it may be, and then you're kind of forced to shoot fish, which otherwise it's like you normally don't like. It's in that dirty water. It's to try to shoot a fish. Your reaction time changes, and your whole mentality changes, and it's a really good way to like accelerate your the whole sport and all that stuff, your whole knowledge. But yeah, it's a great way to start and get
how
into it.
old were you when you started diving over there?
I was 15. That was like back in 1995. Around there is when I started diving. And I think I got into the Fathom year in '98. And then I got into competition pretty heavy at that time. And yeah, it's taught me so much. Competition is just a whole different program. I mean, if you go out and you shoot your gun, so many times in a competition versus when you go out for like a white sea bass dive, you hardly even shoot your gun once.
Once in 5
So the more
days.
you shoot your gun, yeah, the more you shoot your gun, and the more equity. I mean, the more you can get to know your gun, your feeling, and everything else, just like anything else. It's repetitive.
So that's a really good point that I was going to talk about later, but whatever. So in blue water hunting, one of the biggest challenges we find, because we guide for it now, we take people all over the world to do
Right.
this. And at Ascension, generally people would get to Ascension, and that first day they'd land, get everything sorted at noon. We'd head out and we'd be drifting, and we'd have a big tuna up, within a couple hours of them landing. And I can't tell you how many times the guys missed them. And I'm like, holy cow, this is a total layup. And I'm like, okay,
For sure.
maybe it's a first day jitter, second day go out, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they'd never shot their blue water gun but twice. So
Yeah.
what we would do is take a morning, and me and Chad or whoever the other guides were would just load their guns and let them shoot at triggerfish this big until we...
That's not a place you want to go and practice your gun. Not on such an island, right? that hurts. You
hurts.
spend all that money to go way out there, and all you're doing is target shooting one day.
Exactly.
Like,
And
that's
that's
the wrong
the
place to
thing.
be doing that stuff.
But, like sometimes...
I totally know what you're saying, though, 100%.
But you think about it, so that first year that the bluefin showed up on your side, I mean, the guns that people were using were blowing my mind. You're like, you see people jumping off the boat with like a biller.
Yeah.
And you're like,
It was a new game here. Obviously, everybody wants to get after them. They just go with what they got. They don't know any better at times, and you got to start somewhere. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we've been, like you were saying, we've been doing this for such a long time. Me, Brandon, Ryan, all the guys. We go down to Puerto Vallarta. We started going to Puerto Vallarta when it barely started happening back then. That was like in 2000s, in the early 2000s or whatnot. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so we kind of knew that program already.
Right.
We knew what it takes to land these fish.
and that's, for all the people that are buying these big guns and trying to do this stuff, man, go shoot that thing. You don't want the first time that you literally look down the barrel to be when it's
you
on
don't.
something good.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, especially mid-handle guns, they shoot totally different. If all they've been shooting is a rear-handle gun, you're not gonna get a mid-handle gun and go out and shoot a tuna. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. So I mean, at best, if you're in a rush and you don't want to put your time in, just get a big rear-handle gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically
So what Richie's saying, and that's a good point that we make to clients a lot. Like we've designed a couple different guns with the gun manufacturers that are similar to what people normally shoot. So I always ask people, like, what's your normal gun? And most people are saying it's like a 120 Euro. So that's a rear-handled gun that you're used to just point and shoot like that.
Right.
So we've tried to make blue water guns that can still pack the punch, but you can basically shoot like that and have a little bit of a butt to maneuver.
Sure.
Because once you get into those real long guns, if the handle is all the way in the back, you're not moving it. It's too
It's
difficult
not.
to
Yeah,
track.
there's a huge disadvantage when it comes down to the big rear handle guns.
And
So the best way to do it is just to kind of be versatile with everything that's available. That way, you kind of can take advantage of everything that's out there. But that takes time. That takes a lot of commitment and so forth. You can't just get a mid handle gun and go out and expect to shoot it really well. You have to like
right.
train yourself how to hold it, how to shoot it, and so that could take a year or two. So yeah, for sure.
So tell me your go-to blue water setup for tunas over there.
Well, it's pretty much the same as ever been, to believe it or not. We start. At first, back in the days, we used to use the blue water Alexander. I mean, the Alexander tuna guns. With the side stocks, we fix them up and so forth,
The
and then
the rudder or the oar.
yeah,
They're like an
exactly,
oar.
exactly. But they work. They got the job done, and they maximize the opportunities. That's what it boils down to. It's not like whether it could, whether what a smaller gun can do it or not. It's you maximize the opportunity. Out of 10 opportunities, how many fish are you going to be able to land? So we like to maximize our opportunities, basically what it boils down to. And so we started off with the Alexander tuna guns back in the days, but then over time, I think the best overall size, which gave you the reach and the maneuverability, was the Rife blue water gun. What it came down to. I haven't used my Alexander gun forever. I think the blue water gun is a good compromise. It has a good reach and it's still very maneuverable. So it's kind of like right in the middle. And then plus obviously bungees just to kind of tire out the fish when it runs. You want it to just just work against itself. Basically, that's what. And that's basically what it's doing. The
Are
fish
you
is
using
fighting itself.
2 3 atmospheres or 1 3-at on the back and a smaller one clipped up further?
No, for the bluefins, we're using just one. Lately, I've been using the big gannet, which works really well. It's
Just
a perfect
one buoy.
size float. Just one buoy, but I do use one smaller one in the front though. It's
yeah,
more.
okay.
It's more of a fighting float,
Right.
basically. Well, it's not a stopping float, but whenever the fish comes up or it tires out or whatever, it's fighting, and so use a smaller float to kind of
The working
it's
float, we
basically
call it.
yeah, a working float, exactly.
And so we're obviously not going to give away all your secrets here, but when you're
All good, man.
when you're looking at these fish coming in, where are you aiming with your gun?
Everyone's different. So ultimately, I mean, obviously, tunas are always fast-moving fish. You don't. You either want to aim in front of them by a couple of feet in front of their nose. Some say.
Really?
For me, it just more comes naturally. I don't think about those things, to be honest with you. I kind of because I follow through just like you do with the shotgun and stuff like that. I never had I'm never way behind. I still go for my kill shot, which is my next shot for the most part. And pretty much 99% of the time, it's they're good holding shots. But some other people do it differently. They say to aim for the nose or for 2 feet in front of the eyes.
I have always disagreed with the aiming in front of the fish thing. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. And if you're trying to shoot a fish that's swimming that fast, you're not doing it right anyways. And that comes back to, again, being able to track the fish with the guns that you have, especially those real big ones. You've got to have that gun underneath you. So I've got the front of the muzzle like here, and you've got to extend and put it where he is going and be ready to pull the trigger, because you're not going to track him. And that was
the only time I think aiming a little bit up front in the front might come in handy is if you're shooting smaller tuna, like a 20-pound tuna that are fast. And obviously, if you miss by one, I mean, if it passes up by 1 foot, 2 foot, you gotta miss the fish.
Yeah, your area is this big as opposed to
a 200-pound fish is not gonna make a difference, right? But by a 20-pound fish at 15, 20 feet away, it's gonna make a difference. So you might want to aim in front of the fish in that case. But other than that, no.
So you hit them, they have that first run or whatever, buoys go down, working one pops up. You've got it with a clip, like old school tuna clip, right?
Yeah, old school, same stuff we've been using forever. Just we basically we have that, like I said, the fighting float. That's what we're using. Ultimately when we get the fish up the first time, and we just work that smaller float. We work it up the line till we get to maybe 2 feet of the cable. Obviously, you don't want to go right to the cable because you want to give some kind of a
Yeah.
a little spring in case the fish makes another run or what have you. You just don't want a sudden shock, basically.
And
So you keep a couple of feet of that bungee, and then you tie it off there, and then from there you just kind of go to the next step.
and what sometimes it, like when I can see that the shot is not that good, or I didn't see the shot with the client, I'll take that front buoy and I'll drain it a lot instead of having it be super hard, so that
So it just doesn't put much pressure on the fish.
exactly. So if the fish runs again, you can let him roll. And obviously now that you've been doing a lot more fishing, it's the same thing with fighting a fish on drag. You don't try
Pretty
to
much.
tighten the drag as he gets close to the boat. You back it off so that if he's
Exactly.
right there next to the boat and he runs, he can go. Well,
The fighting float we're using is pretty small. It's almost already at neutral level. It's like it barely floats the fish already, so it doesn't have that much flotation. It's I think a 16 liter or something like that, or 15. I might be off, but I'm not sure with liters, but I think it's around there, 15 liter float or something. It's a fairly small one.
so one of the first times that you and I went diving together, you and I want to say your brother and your cousin or something,
Yeah.
we started heading out to, I think, Catalina and Clemente on your boat.
Clemente.
Same one you've got now, right?
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
the same boat. Yeah, for
So-
sure.
so
I'm
we're
pretty much remodeling the whole thing. But yeah,
We're heading out there, and that's when I was like full into like the trying to get a swordfish thing. So I was like constantly looking, and we saw a mako, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool or whatever. And I was like, oh, I ought to ask him. And I said, have you ever seen a great white out here? And you're like,
I haven't. I've been lucky with sharks, man. I don't know why I do, or I've spent so much time in the water, so I'm not one of those guys that attract sharks. I've seen makos and stuff like that, but as far as great whites, knock on wood,
Do you remember
I'm
what
sure
you
they've
told
probably
me, though?
seen me though. What I tell you?
you go, oh yeah, bro, every time. So
Oh yeah, well of course. I'm not gonna make it that easy for you.
for the next hour and a half, I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, oh man, now I've got to really be thinking about this.
Great white city there, huh?
You're like, oh yeah, we see them in the kelp, out of the kelp. It doesn't matter. You're gonna see one. I'm like, oh man, like there's no way I'm gonna be able to relax and dive here. But you kept it for like an hour and a half. So the in Mexico and stuff, what was the biggest yellowfin you guys landed?
My biggest yellowfin was the 283 pounder was out of Puerto Vallarta. Brennan at that time, it was all the same sizes more or less between 250, 230, 280s. Later on, Brennan got some real nice ones out of Panama and so forth. But yeah, we pulled some nice fish down there.
And now that we're shooting these bluefins here in California, how many over 200 do you think you guys have put on the boat?
On my boat, I don't know. I lose track. I mean, at least 50 for sure.
Have you guys broke 300?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, not spearfishing, rod and reel, which is cheating kind of, But yeah, last year we got 3 over 300 on rod and reel.
Wow.
And
really?
it's my first time actually doing rod and reel as far as tuna. I did a little rod and reel just, as a kid. But yeah, as far as tuna, it's my first time. I mean, I had to because I spent so much time out there. And sometimes the fish are down 300 feet and all my buddies around me are freaking just wasting them, I'm like, dude, I can't just sit out here. I mean, I know I can't get them, but I'm already out here. So I might as well just, get my setup.
So when they're down deep like that, I remember whatever that first year was that I came out there to do it, I tried to get a hold of all you guys for like 2 months prior, and no one would answer my phone. I was like, all right, so I got to figure this out.
It's a busy time of year, It's tough. Everyone's busy trying to prepare,
So we went and we were marking them, but we weren't really seeing them on the surface. So I was like, screw this. I was like, as soon as you mark them, just tell me what depth they are, and we'll do it like we do in Panama. I'll just bomb down. So we did that, and I mean, I had chances almost every single dive. And eventually I was able to shoot. I passed up a ton because I had one day and I wanted to shoot a real big one. And I did. Eventually I shot a stud. But that was like that
I remember that, yeah.
The first year that was good.
That was one of the first years too. That was way back then.
I remember when I got back to the dock, all you a-holes, like I had like 20 missed calls from all you guys. And we talked about it.
You got popular real quick, right?
So I had, and you and I talked about it in depth or whatever. And, at the time it was, this is what I always look for, is there's always another way to look at it. And that's why our group of friends is so key, because there's so many different varying opinions. There's different ways to do it. And you've got to be versatile. You can't just jump in front of the school. You got to figure out something.
No, dude, we have learned so much. As a matter of fact, now that you're saying your story, you are the one who first opened up my mind about the meter marks, because that was fresh. Because we started out of nowhere here. I mean, we started from scratch, and we kind of paved the road as we went on. We didn't have nobody to show us what's going on, so we had to learn, step by step, every trip, every other trip. And then Bluefin Tuna has like the most different behavior out of any other fish. They have so many different behaviors, it's not even funny. Like, you think you learned them, but the next day you go out and they do something totally new and totally different. Like, what the hell? So you gotta relearn them, relearn that behavior they're going through, and then try to be ahead of them. So it's been a long road. It's been amazing. I mean, after all these years I've been in the sport, and everything kind of, I kind of knew pretty much everything that's going on, but to have something come in our waters that I could actually start from scratch and just learn my way up, and
how fun though. That's awesome.
It's unreal. For sure, yeah. It's unreal, man.
Especially in this day and age where everything is handed to you. I mean, people that are watching this, they've never tried for bluefins, and they're going to go try it now. But it's
let me tell you, it's not an easy game, bro. I mean, I thought I dove hard in competitions where I say, man, this is the most tired I've ever been. Dude, at my age with bluefin tuna, and I come back from days, I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm serious. Like the hours, and your back is dead, because dude, we're loading 500 pounds of ice every trip, and then just to move a freaking 250, 300 pound fish from one side of the boat to the other, you need like 3 guys, and your back is just like, I mean, I'm telling you, I've never been so tired in my whole life after these tuna trips. I mean, ever, even in the worst competitions, like. That's a lot of work, man.
Dude, we had one of the Yeti summits, like where all the Yeti people get together recently. Like, we were designing the next generation of bags, and we get in there, and I was like the presenter for like the bag that we designed, and I got up and I was like, we're getting later in age, from lifting up big fish, my whole life I hurt my back, and everyone's like, whoa, fuck. So I was like, oh God, like beat red. But it's true. Like, that's why
I think that's how I hurt my back. I swear to God, just lifting up fish. I swear.
Lifting up fish, I'm all messed slipping up on deck with them. Like, oh man.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
it's
for
so
sure.
True.
For sure. But you know what? I got to tell you, this whole game is all about teamwork, man. It's not a one-person sport. I can tell you that. It takes everyone to put 100% of their effort. There's days out there when I have the wrong crew or something, I almost give up halfway, because I know there's just no way. It's just like, because everyone has to be so on it. And I usually have my normal crew, and like, everyone has a job, and there's different ways of doing things. People try to put, the most efficient way is having one diver back there, and then having a captain who's running the boat, and then one guy helping out that diver. He needs to clear his lines and so forth. So it's all a teamwork. That diver shouldn't be messing with his line as he jumps in the water. All his jobs to do is just jump in the water, get down there, and shoot a fish. The guy on the boat who's helping out, who's spotting, is the guy who's going to be releasing his float lines and so forth. For the most part, that's the most efficient way. But sometimes if you got 2 divers and a couple extra hands on the boat, you could get by with 2 divers. But yeah, it's such a teamwork
for sure.
Yeah, it's such a teamwork, sport for sure.
Yeah, and I know that I've asked you a couple times to help us out on trips, because when I go, I especially for tunas, I've got to have myself and at least one other guy that knows the deal, and it's usually Chad that comes with me, because it's a lot of work, and with all that gear and these big fish, man, it's such a stressful time on your body, and like it is. If one little thing is off, if you've got that bungee wrapped around you, you're done.
For sure. It's happened too. I mean, it's you notice it, and you pretty much know the mess up that went on, and it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you have to be so honest. It's not even funny. I mean, even if the diver has the wrong gear on my boat, I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time and spend hours looking for these fish, and my spotter's up on the front, and we were putting so much work, and then I know for a fact that my diver is not really gonna maximize his opportunities.
Right.
For me, it's not worth. It's really not worth it.
Mm-hmm. So I was also going to, I think I mentioned it before you came on. Yellowfins versus the bluefin. If a 200-pound yellowfin is tied to a 200-pound bluefin, who's going to win?
Dude, that's a good question. I thought about that for a little bit, but I couldn't come up with an answer because, to be honest with you, all the big yellowfin tunas, they haven't taken even barely my Rob Allen float down.
Really? Brad.
Yeah, pretty much all the yellowfin tunas I haven't really fought that hard. So it boils down to like they're definitely different fish for sure, but it boils down to where the shot is and how hurt they are. I think and everything else. I think they both can put up a good fight.
So talk a little bit about that. I think I touched on that with somebody else a couple of days ago, but I'm a full believer in that too. I believe that whether the shot is from the side or from above makes a huge difference in the way a fish fights. What's your thought on that?
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think from the top, it sends them more down. They kind of want to just keep diving down.
It's a more natural thing too. It's like a more natural angle.
Yeah, I mean, they're feeling something hurt on their back, so the natural instinct.
It's not so much here or here; it's more right here in the back that it hurts.
Right, and they just want to get away from it. So the only way away from that is down, right?
Right.
Yeah. So no, I mean, a couple times I've had these bluefins take a whole rig down, a big float. But I haven't had them disappear really for long. Not myself, at least. I know others have, but we've done pretty well as far as keeping our gear, and we don't lose that many fish. I mean, when you use the right gear, you got to use cable. It's all about, like I said, it's all about maximizing the opportunity. I mean, if Spectra versus cable slip tip, Spectra's gonna break 20% less. That's 20% less chance. If you have cable versus mono, 20%, there's another 20%. So at the end of the day, if you're not using if you're like 20, you also you're 60% behind.
Right.
That things can go wrong. So you just gotta maximize every part of your gear, every weak point basically.
So start at the tip and work your way down.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you're using a big slip tip.
I want to use the longest slip that they make, which is like a 5.5 inch.
Are you doing tri-cut or are you doing a pencil tip?
I'm using tri-cut because bluefin tuna have really tough skin anyways.
Agreed.
It's more about penetrating, and you want to try to get as far in as possible. Basically you want to try to get to the other side. That's your main thing. You get to the other side, you're golden. But aside from that, even if you don't go to the other side with a tri-cut, you got to penetrate a lot longer, and you can get that much further toggle inside the fish. I believe, because their skin is so tough. It's not like you're not dealing with a soft flesh, with fish or whatnot. I mean, their skin is so. We've seen these fish come up on a piece of skin many times, not just once or twice.
Terrifyingly so.
So yeah, yeah, pretty much. But the skin is really it's pretty tough.
Yeah. So slip tip, and then you're using that. What is it, like 1,000-pound cable or 800 cable or whatever?
No, we're not going that much. Not like dogtooth tuna style, but some guys are. I think I'm using a 600-pound cable. I like to use non-coated. That way I can see my cable.
I'm with you there too.
I'm always on it. Always check my crimps. I got the right crimper. That way it's always consistent. I don't, it's not like one day it's good, one day it's bad. I got the stuff from Maury. He's pretty particular with all that stuff. So I've tested all my rigging. Every time, I have something that's consistent that I test it in the beginning. If it's good, then it passes. It passes. That's all I use.
And you're using the tandem slide ring. So the slide ring is around the shaft like that, and it's got the little hole. The cable goes through it like that.
Right. Absolutely.
And how long?
The Alexander style.
I've never really made a determination on what the right length is for the cable.
Oh, you know what? We just went through that this year. This is the first time we actually made an extra long slip tip cable. Dude, I swear I kid you not. I feel like I have way less bent shafts.
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure.
And ironically, I have less slip tip cable bent. Because usually my slip tip cable is always bent or whatever, you gotta straighten it. With a longer slip tip, I've had less bent in my slip tip, which I thought would be the other way around. And then I had way less shaft bends for sure. So I think that's like my new thing now. Is like I'm going extra long on the slip tip cable.
You've always been extra long on your slip tip.
Yeah, you got to.
What length shaft and what thickness are you using?
65-inch, 11/32 shaft. It's a happy medium. 3/8 is pretty heavy, a little slow. Has punching power, but like I said, it's a little slow. So I like the 11/32. It's kind of in the middle. 5/60 is a little too thin. It bends a little easier. It's too light. It doesn't have that enough penetration. So, but I think 11/32 is like a happy medium for these fish. Like I said, tri-cut 5.5-inch. The longest slip that you can get. Cable setup for
How many
sure,
wraps?
and then I think the 2 wraps, which is the maximum on that gun. Obviously we're going for reef fish. I make one less wrap, but open water you want to have.
I do.
Whatever the gun's capable.
I've always preached what I say is a wrap and a half, basically from the back of the shaft, front of the gun, back down to the line release, back to the front, and then breakaway.
Let me see. So it comes up and then down, 1, 2, and then comes back and then breakaway. So yeah, I don't know what that is. That's pretty much 2 wraps.
I call it because that's all you need. Like it's frustrating, especially like when you're hunting reef fish, that people have like so many freaking wraps and you shoot.
Oh, reef fish is a whole different game. Yeah, that's pretty much your enemy. Yeah, you know what you don't want to have any extra wraps. Actually, you definitely want to take some wraps off and keep it short. Keep it as short as possible.
On my reel guns, I've stopped using mono altogether. I just tie my reel line directly to the shaft, and like when I'm shooting fish in a hole, there's no line out because you're shooting them from this far away. There's no line out at all. It's just enough to get to the shaft.
So you talk about mono or straight reel line?
Straight reel line. Like
that's I've seen that now going on. I've done that a little bit too in Mexico. We started using the Spectra lines or whatever it is, but it works pretty good. It's pretty abrasion resistant and pretty much better than mono for us.
So tell me about the craziest day of bluefins you've had out there.
Every year it seems like we get one freaking really good day. We have a lot of good days, but like one that really stands out. We just have. I don't know. I mean, it's just so good. I mean, this whole thing is so unreal. Like I'm telling you, like before 5 years ago, we would never dream of anything like this, And then this whole thing is a dream. It's still a dream. Like for a guy who's been around and who had to like drive 100 miles offshore 15 years ago just to get like a 20-pound bluefin tuna, which was a big deal back then. I had like 3 under my belt before this whole thing started, which I had to like go like Cortez Bank, 110 miles offshore, and like put some dues just to get like a 20-pounder. And that was a huge deal.
I remember that stuff.
I'm sorry to say, but this whole thing is like a dream to me.
You got trophies for that.
I'm telling you, that was like a bigger deal than anything else that's going on now. But now it's like everything stands out. It's hard to pick a trip because it's just so surreal to me,
Well, just pick one day, like maybe the first day that you guys really got into them and really slayed them.
Oh yeah, I think I went with Joe Farlow and Phil DeRocco. We went out. We went out to a spot 283 or something like that, and it was dead. It was really dead. So I just thought it was probably one of those dead days. And like you said earlier, networking is a huge thing. And I've been blessed to be, connected with just so many out there. And then this whole game is about, sharing together. So you don't want to leave nothing a secret or nothing because ultimately you're pretty much screwing yourself. So you kind of want to pick your right people in the group and then be able to share back and forth, And I still share with people who don't participate back either. But I mean, it's what it is because it's a big ocean. There's a lot of fish out there. I really don't care, honestly. But the fish are moving around every single day, and you really have to be on top of it. But anyways, we were out there, and like it was dead. And so I just said maybe it's one of those days where they're just not up. See, that's when I like. You don't know if it's just the whole ocean's like that or if like another part is happening. So I get a call from one of my buddies, and he's like, okay, well, here's the numbers or whatever. Come out here. I couldn't get their numbers the first time. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, dude, I can't get him back on the radio. He gave me some numbers. I got confused or whatever, and I couldn't get him back. So then my other buddy who heard us, he goes, oh, hey, Balta. So here's the numbers. So I was, all right, good. So I just hauled ass over there. was like 12 miles away. Dude, as soon as we got there, there was like 250 pounders just breaking the surface, just like it's like a National Geographic. Like we went from a place where just dead as it could be to a place where just like we were so excited. We all kind of just started just jumping in our suits and trying to jump in the water at the same time. Like no program, no rhythm or nothing. We were just that
Everybody
excited.
Go!
Everybody, first one in the water goes. No problem.
Fish this way.
But yeah, we ended up doing great that day, and it was one of our first big trips where we ended up getting like 3 fish, all between like 230, 250, and that was like one of the first coolest trips we've had. It was
wow.
Definitely very memorable for sure.
So I've always been a big stickler on like the way to take care of the fish, and bluefin tuna is like there's probably more research and more thought put into preparing bluefin tuna from the get-go. What are your thoughts on that? Having a small boat, you're probably one of the most well-iced guys I've ever seen on that coast.
I know. Yeah, for sure, man. We're learning so much on how to take care of these fish, and obviously these fish are like warm-blooded fish, so it's like to cool them down, it's really, really hard,
especially after a big fight.
And they take a lot of eyes. Yeah, especially a big fight. So the best way, I mean, we found out is first of all, we kind of got them right away, and we dump in the water because the water is like 65, 68 degrees, let's say, and the fish at that point is probably like 80 degrees. So just that 15-degree difference, just to have them in the water, just to cool them down extra 10 degrees before put them on ice, is gonna save your eyes that much more, and there's a lot to go there. So you put them in the water for like 30 minutes there. And then before that, we started doing this whole thing where you
ikishibi.
Yeah, you put that thing through the brain and you kind of spine the whole fish. It kills all the nerve system, so that way they don't there's no lactic acid going into the meat no more or whatnot. So yeah, I mean we're kind of trying to better our ways every time we're out there, and we've come a long way. Like I said, you need a lot of ice. So yeah, after we dump in the water for like 30 minutes or so, let them cool down that way, bring them down like 15 degrees, and then we just pack them up on ice until they got cavity and so forth. And then,
so
yeah,
one of my clients that I'm not at liberty to say who it is, they have spent a lot of money on having the right people come and like take care of their fish, and I want to say this guy is something like 10 or 15,000 a day just to be there to take care of their fish. And this guy's like one of the most world-renowned guys for taking care of tunas and making sashimi and blah, blah, blah. So they said that like when they get fish, and they were going to have him come on a trip with us on one of the yachts. So when they catch the fish, they bring him up into the boat onto like basically like a kid's raft so that the boat, the fish never hits hard ground.
Okay.
He comes up, he's immediately like basically stoned, killed.
Right.
Then they ikishibi him. Then they gut him and gill him. And the guy ices him for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Have you ever heard that? Like, that's the most absurd number I've ever heard.
Yeah, aging the fish and stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I haven't done... I've left, actually, last year I left fish on ice more than any other years. Because, like we always try and get back out there, and then I have a nice, fish. I leave it on ice. I've left fish on ice for like 5-6 days, and they come out really nice. I just think I'm sure I'm doing something wrong, but I feel like the shelf life at that point, because I like to keep it in the fridge. I don't want to freeze my tuna, so I put a lot of it in the fridge. But if you ice them for 5-6 days, it comes out really nice, really good quality. But I think the shelf life. Now you probably have another week in the fridge. Let's
right.
or like 4 days or 5 days or whatever. Versus if you were to cut them, within a day, and then you might have maybe 2 weks in the fridge. If you leave it in a cold place, and obviously you got to take them out, to take the meat out of the bag, keep drying them up, and keep them really dry. You don't want them to sit all that and all that brine or all the juices that they release, obviously, because that's what kind of rots up the meat.
So on that subject, one of the really interesting things that Tahitians do is as soon as they get those fish in the boat, they club them and they gut them and gill them and everything, and then they use a really stiff-handled brush, and guaranteed, I know you're going to start doing this, take a stiff-handled brush and you scrub the fish down, and you get all that slime off of them. So the fish is totally clean, there's no loose scales, and then they ice them. And when they clean them, they actually hang them from their tail, like we would clean a pig. They hang them from their tail, and they cut the edges off of the top of the dorsal and the belly, and then they clean them like a freaking pig. It's unbelievable, and the meat actually comes out really good. And one of the things that I've gotten the most picky about over the years is taking care of fish, because in my mind,
same here.
If we're going to make all this effort to go and do this, let's obviously respect the fish, but let's make the most out of it too. And
especially tuna, man, it's so freaking good. I'm kind of addicted to that meat. I swear, it's like I when it's the season going on, I literally, I don't care. I mean, yeah, the mercury, whatever. I think I give enough time when it's off season to let my body rest. But during the season, yeah, I eat that stuff like 3-4 times a week, and it's amazing. I just have so many different recipes now, and I don't think I would say 95% of the time I never cook any of that fish. It's all raw.
Yeah.
Probably 100%. I don't think I've ever cooked tuna before, or bluefin tuna before. It's all different ways of different, whether it's spicy tuna or poke or what have you. It's just, I love eating it raw.
So Cousin Blake just asked, is there a way to freeze the tuna without it turning brown? And in my experience, what we've done, I almost always bring a giant Yeti on trips. Like I'll bring like a Yeti 350 and we'll shoot tunas day one or whatever, clean them, gill them, blah, 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 and put them in the ice and leave them as long as I possibly can before I clean them. And when we package them, we pat them dry as we possibly can, cut off all the red, never touches slime, never touches scales, never touches any of that foolishness, and then we vacuum seal it. But when we vacuum seal it in paper towels as well. To keep it dry.
I tried paper towels. I personally didn't like when I defrosted it. It kind of got stuck to the meat. I had a hard time kind of peeling it off or whatnot. I thought wax paper or something like that was worked a little better to where you could actually unwrap it when it defrosts. But I'm sure any of that stuff, yeah.
I wonder if butcher's paper would work. Traeger just sent me a huge roll of it. I might try that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You just gotta try different things and see what comes out best. But I froze some stuff that I pulled out 7 months later. I don't think it was like just sashimi style good, but it was good for like spicy tuna and stuff like that, which I made. After you add all that sriracha and the mayonnaise, it kind of takes away from that little bit of flavor that's a little bit old or whatever that you probably taste if it's sashimi style, but it still tasted good.
Yeah, that's the same. Like it's so rare. Like I'm looking in our freezer every day, because we're pulling out stuff to eat. There's no fish in there. All I have is like lobsters, stone crabs. I've got deer. I've got a little bit of pig and like some other stuff. But I almost never freeze fish. We just give it away.
Yeah.
Or we eat it that week. And we have big back before this foolishness, like we would have like a big party. No matter how successful you are, no matter what business it is or sport or whatever, you're going to get a bunch of flack and feedback when you show up successful. So that being said, personally, I've felt it, and a lot of it has got to be jealousy for most people, but you got to catch a bunch of shit for, coming in with a bunch of big tunas, but that's one day out of probably 5 or 10 that you've gone out and actually got stuff. There's no shortage of places.
We have pretty down days. I'm lucky to where I would say, I mean, because it's not anything to do because how good we are, because like I said, the network is so great. I would say we get fish 8 out of 10 times, which is like crazy good.
That's very good, Richard.
Sometimes it's a small fish or whatever. But that takes a lot of work. It's a lot of, like I said, networking and being on top of things and commitment and actually putting your time in and everything else. And the more you're out there, the more you know where the fish were last, and the more recent reports you have, and the more knowledge you have. So obviously, the more you do it, the more you're gonna be on it.
Mm-hmm. And Richie, don't cut yourself short. You are by far the best person on that coast. like you've done a phenomenal job figuring it out. And even before that, you were already the top guy on the California coast. So it's no surprise that you shifted your focus to the bluefins. And when was the last time you shot a white sea bass?
I went out not yesterday, the day before yesterday, for the first time of the whole year. I put like a few hours in the water. I didn't see anything, but I'm almost giving up already. I'm over white sea bass already for one day of effort.
So
but, yeah.
So that brings up something else. So I've had such frustration with those things. And I've talked to everybody, like the guys that are the best at it or whatever, and
right.
I tried to get all these tips and techniques, and honestly, Brandon gave me the best advice I've ever gotten on white sea bass, and I'm not going to share it here. But everything else, everyone has said is like, dude, it's just time in the water. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
It boils down to that, really, because I don't think white sea bass discriminates whether you're really good or you're not good. You could be like, it doesn't separate the best from not or whatever. So white sea bass is just one of those games where, I mean, obviously, it boils on to a better diver is gonna have better when they have the opportunity, they're gonna have better chance that they're gonna land that fish. Out of 10 opportunities, if they see 10
finding
fish,
them, being in the right place, all that stuff.
But,
with no network. With no network.
I was in the water the other day, and there was two guys jumping the water right next to me with big tuna floats, and they're just swimming alongside of the bed. Well, obviously, we all know as a white sea bass hunter, a big float is the last thing you want to use. Like you kind of know the kind of whatever it may be, but before you know it, the guy just freaking drops down and comes up with like a 50-pounder, like right in front of me, and like. And I was in the water for like 2 hours, doing everything right, and I didn't even see a single fish. So it just goes to show you that it's one of those fish where you just pretty much, you just kind of put your time in, and it's really frustrating. And some years are your years, and you could see a lot of them, and be one of those guys who gets them all the time. And the other years, you do everything the same way, and you don't see nothing.
Right. So Sydney Spiros, I can't click on your thing to see what your name is or whatever, but yeah. So in Australia, and I'm sure you and I have talked after I lived down in Australia, and we hammered them down in Australia, and I was like, this is a completely different fish than California. So the mulloway, which is the croaker species, is, redfish here. Mulloway in Australia, they call them jewfish down there. You guys have them. They've got tatuava down in Mexico. They've got corvina all throughout the world.
Sure.
They've
Very
got
similar fish all throughout.
They've got what are they called down in South Africa? They're basically all over the world. So in Australia, I dove with all the Australia guys all over the world or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, it's like the hardest fish to get, blah 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 blah. So Brad and I go over there. And like it took us about 2 or 3 days to figure them out, and we're like, you know what? I don't think Australians looking holes, And we were used to hole hunting, from being in Bahamas. Dude, no, that's where they live. They love like these crazy
I've seen that before. Like it's like a big cave with a bunch of women there. It's really weird to see from a guy who just shoots white sea bass here. That white sea bass. I've seen once a sea bass in a hole, you say, or a cave or whatever, which was on a break wall, and it was at nighttime, and I shined my light. I was looking for lobsters, and there's a white sea bass just hanging out in like this like little hole or little cave. But that was pretty interesting.
Did you try to grab him?
Normal. Yeah, I always try to do something.
I knew you did. I knew, 100%. And that's the other thing. So Sydney Spiros is saying again, like Brad and I had spots before they closed Byron Bay there in Australia. I guess it was Byron Cape or whatever, Cape Byron. We had rocks that we knew we could go there and jump in when it was clear and look under literally the rock one guy was standing on shore, and there'd be like 30 to 50 pound fish in it. It was insane.
That's crazy.
You just smash them, shoot them in the rock, and
that's awesome.
The biggest one I've ever seen, and it haunts me to this day. Brad and I swam down the coastline there, whatever, and went to this one little spot, and it was in like 8 feet of water, and there was a school of little ones. You guys call them, maybe it's Australia, call them soapies. What do you guys call the little ones? I'm pretty sure. I don't know. And this is the challenge with traveling so much. Everybody's got different names, but in Australia, I'm pretty sure they call them soapies. I could see the whole school. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go lay on the bottom. I'm going to look at them and find the biggest one. So I go and I lay on the bottom, and there's like maybe 2 or 3 dozen of them, maybe like 10 or 12 pounds in front of this huge rock. And they're like swirling, and I've got my like 100-centimeter gun, like waiting. And it's only like 6 foot viz. And I'm like, all right. And then the rock moved. The rock was the biggest one I've ever seen in my life. And I swear to God, at the time, I hope I wrote it in my journal, but it must have been 80 or 90 pounds. And I've never seen anyone land anything even close to it. And it freaking killed me that day. Like, we still got huge ones that day, but dude, if anybody's there in Australia and wants to go get photos and video of big freaking mulloway, send me a message. I'll send you the exact spots, because those places are closed forever. And like we were saying, you know, one of the reasons I can't tell you or Brandon or Brad or any of our friends anything specific is because you guys will remember it. And it's the same, like every rock, like I know that you've seen, you can remember where to come in and blah, 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 blah. And that's what makes you such a good hunter. And that area, holy crap, we saw some cool stuff. But what's, without giving too much away, what's the best advice anyone's ever given you on white sea bass besides spend a bunch of time in the water?
Well, let's see.
Or where to go, because obviously where to go, you know, I don't even.
I mean, everybody knows where to go now. I mean, you got the internet, like I said. It's like it's so obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, like literally, we were out the other day, and there's like probably like 10 boats already on the spot. It's pretty overcrowded already. So as far as the places, I'm sure everyone knows the spots already. Mm-hmm. And
I'm down to 1% here. I might lose you. Let me see if I can shift.
Yeah,
somewhere else.
Sure.
But
no, I mean, dude, believe me, it's like I mean, have all your stuff together, be prepared. So when you see, you could maximize your chances, and you don't, because you hear a lot of people just go out there and they miss a fish, they tear off fish all the time. So it's one of those fish where you might have one opportunity the whole day, which is like any other fish though. I mean, you want to be ready for that one fish, and you want to have you want to know your gear. You want to know you want to be on top of it. You don't want to just go out there and just how can you like tear off white sea bass or miss them completely? It's a 6 foot long fish by like 2 feet. I mean, and then you hear people tearing them off all the time. It's about shot placement. I mean, you pick the right shot and so forth, and that's my best advice, to be honest with you. As far as other than that, just go in the water and put your time in, and I'm sure big sea bass will swim next to you.
Yeah, well, good, man. Well, Richie, I appreciate your time tonight, man. It was good catching up with you, and obviously
likewise, man.
We'll talk here
Thanks
soon.
For having me.
When all this thing blows over, I've already got a number of dates out your way, so you probably won't answer my calls, but.
I always answer your calls, though. Come on, I always return your call at least.
At least at some point. Oh, you're flying out now. Oh man, okay.
Dude, you don't know how it gets. But dude, I'm literally never home. Like I live on the boat during the Bluefin Tuna season for sure.
Yeah. Well, good talking to you, man. You guys, you take care, and everybody that chimed in, thanks for coming on.
For sure, man. Take care, buddy. Thanks for having me.